Hello, welcome back to a chapter a day. Happy Sunday, first day of a new week. And we'll be reading chapter 26 today of 1chronicles. Yesterday we went through the vision of the musicians among the different groups of Levites, I believe, to officiate during the different services they had. And today we'll be looking at more genealogies, this time for people who work as porters. Porters were people who maybe transported things in and out of the sanctuary, as well as people who would guard the sanctuary, the temple, because, doesn't matter. I guess there's nothing new under the sun. Satan has been around a long time. He's going to get in somebody to do something foolish. So they had guards and other officers at the sanctuary. So this is going to be a lot of genealogies again. But wherever I can find to read something that may, be of interest, I'll try and stop, okay? So let's see, chapter 26, concerning the divisions of the porters of the Korhites. And then they start, okay. They're listing the names starting from verse 1 all the way through to verse 11. Okay, that's a lot of names, sons of, and just naming a lot of sons, etc., etc. So I'm not going to read that. So I'm going to go to verse 12. Among these were the divisions of the porters, even among the chief men, having wards one against another, to minister in the house of the Lord. And they cast lots, as well the small as the great, according to the house of their fathers, for every gate. And the lot eastward fell to Shelemiah. Then for Zechariah his son, a wise counselor, they cast lots, and his lot came out northward. So I guess what's happening, remember the sanctuary is divided into 4 parts. So for each section, I remember God said a different group was supposed to be in charge of each eastward, for directions. 4 different groups of Levites. And for each of those groups of Levites, they are allotting different officers. And we already read about the different priests and, what do you call them? Yeah, priests and other officials who were to do the sanctuary service were allotted. I think it was the priests and the musicians, right? Priests and musicians, we already read how they were divided up to go to each of these groups of Levites, the 4 different groups. So this is what they're listing here, all the divisions of the Levites for each of those, eastward, westward, northward, and southward. Okay, so again, it's a lot of names from verse 14 all the way down to, let's see, verse 25. So I'm going to read from verse 26 now and see what happens. With Shelomith and his brethren were over all the treasures of the dedicated things, which David the king and the chief fathers, the captains over thousands and over hundreds, and the captains of the host had dedicated. Out of the spoils won in battles did they dedicate to maintain the house of the Lord. And all that Samuel the seer and Saul the son of Kish and Abner the son of Ner and Joab the son of Zeruiah had dedicated, and whosoever had dedicated anything, it was under the hand of Shelomith and of his brethren. Of the Israelites, Chenaniah and his sons were for the outward business over Israel, for officers and judges. Again, everyone who has to officiate. If you're a Levite, if you're from the tribe from the group of Aaron or Moses' son, everyone, those were all the only people, Aaron's sons, Moses' sons, and the Levites. If you fell under any of those groups, you had a position, and you were to know your position and not try to do something otherwise. And I think that's why God was so angry with Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, when they offered bad fire. They offered unconsecrated fire to God, and they were struck down because they were supposed to know what they had to do in the service of God. That might be a little object lesson to us today. When we know what we have to do and we don't do it, or we do something contrary, give God less than we should. All right. Verse 30. And of the Hebronites, Ashabiah and his brethren, men of valor 1,700, were officers among them of Israel on this side Jordan westward, in all the business of the Lord and in the service of the king. Among the Hebronites was Jerojah, the chief, even among the Hebronites, according to the generations of his fathers. In the 40th year of the reign of David, they were sought for, and there were found among them mighty men of valor at Jezer of Gilead. Remember, they are supposed to be like security officers, those men. So they can't find people who will not, fight for the protection of the temple. And last verse, verse 32, and his brethren, men of valor, were 2,700 chief fathers, whom King David made rulers over the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, for every matter pertaining to God and affairs of the king. That's the end of chapter 26. That is just a lot of information about how the groups of Levites were distributed, and the officers that were distributed to those groups. Okay, so like they said, each section of the sanctuary, east, west, north, and south, had a different group of Levites in charge of it, and each of those groups of Levites will apportion the priests, singers, porters, and other officers like security guards. So every section of the temple was secure. Wow, so that's it. Nothing was supposed to be spared in the building of God's temple, and nothing was spared. I mean, between David and Solomon and everyone else who consecrated goods to this temple, and most times they had spoils from wars, they always gave a portion to the temple. So it was well taken care of until people started to go to idolatry. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for another day of reading. Thank you all for listening again, and until our next reading, keep hearing God's word. That's how we get faith.